What's up, everyone? Back for another non-alcoholic beer review. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from the Heineken Brewery, and they're headquartered in the Netherlands. And this is their Heineken 0.0. So they're calling this one a malt beverage with a natural flavor. It comes in at 0.0% alcohol by volume. No IBUs. Listen, time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but it does have a best by date of April of 2023, and we're a couple months away from that month, so we should be fine according to the brewery. So last week, I reviewed regular Heineken, and I liked it quite a bit more than in the past. I thought it was pretty solid. And when it comes to these non-alcoholic beer reviews, I've been sprinkling them in over the past 6 months or so. And I've had a couple people recommend this beer specifically, or this NA beer, because they say, and there was about 3 or 4 people, they said that this one replicates Heineken pretty well in non-alcoholic form. So I was like, sounds great to me. Let's do it. So on the back of the bottle, it says Heineken's unique 0.0 recipe is brewed with pure malt and special A-Yeast, just like the original Heineken Lager Beer. Heineken 0.0 brewed with pure malt for premium taste without alcohol. Now, since I did review Heineken the regular last week, I do have a bottle of it. I bought a 6-pack. So what I'm going to do at the end of this review is compare it to the non-alcoholic one. So we're going to go and see if it really does match up with the regular Heineken. I'm hoping it does. So we're going to crack this one open. Now, this isn't the freshest bottle, I will say that. I mean, the Best Buy is a couple months away, and it's probably going to be a little skunky, I would imagine. And yeah, there's a little bit of skunk going on, but not a ton. Kind of like that one, there was a little bit of skunk. So I think there'll be some differences, but we'll see how much. Anyway, let's give this a pour. I'm just hoping it tastes very similar to Heineken without the alcohol. I mean, put it this way, if I was a Heineken drinker and that was all I drank, or that was my go-to beer, I would say that at the end of the day, if I'm picking this up, I want something that replicates Heineken just in non-alcoholic form. So that kind of looks like Heineken. Pretty good carbonation, about a finger, just under a finger of a bright white, I'd say somewhat soap sudsy, but creamy looking head. Clear as it can be. You can see right through it. Looks beautiful. Now, I wanted to do a regular review of this before comparing it, because I want to review it on its own merits as opposed to the regular Heineken. We'll just compare it real quickly at the end. Let's get a nose. So there was, when I cracked it open, a little bit of skunk. It is already dissipated now that it's in the glass. Does it smell like regular Heineken? A little bit. Again, this is going off of about a week ago when I reviewed the regular Heineken. It smells in that realm. Like there's a bready, almost biscuity kind of malt character. Maybe a slight grassy hop note. A little bit of sulfur that you typically get from like a regular lager. But it does have a little bit more sweetness than regular Heineken. Like it just has this, and I've been getting that a lot with non-alcoholic beers. There's this unique sweetness that I can't pinpoint. And it's here. But I will say this, if somebody handed this to me and I just smelled it, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a regular, that's a Euro Pale lager, that's an adjunct lager. It just kind of smells like it. So anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. All right, so first things first. Does this replicate Heineken in non-alcoholic form? It's not that far off, if I'm being honest with you. The one thing I noticed is with Heineken, you get a little bit of bitterness, you get a little bit of that grassy kind of hop bitterness. It's a bit more dry than this one. This doesn't have, to me, like the substantial dryness. Not that Heineken's overly dry or anything, but it has a balance to it. This one leans a little bit sweeter, so. Body's actually impressive. This is like lower side to medium body for a 0.0% non-alcoholic lager. I think the body's pretty nice. Very akin to regular Heineken. On the palate, the mouthfeel, it's crisp, it's clean, it's very effervescent, it's refreshing. What I like about this is I'm not getting any kind of off flavor with it. It's bready, biscuity malt at the forefront. It dives underneath the palate. And then this is where I can kind of tell this is non-alcoholic. And this is, again, happens in a lot of non-alcoholic beers for me. Midway through the palate, there is this distinct, sweet kind of feeling to the beer. It's not off-putting, but it also, from drinking enough beers, it feels like it doesn't belong in a beer. if that makes any sense. It's not off-putting. It doesn't make this any less enjoyable. It's just different. That continues out of the back. The palate finishes with a little bit of dryness, a little bit of bitterness, but this leans a little sweeter than your typical Heineken. There is a slight grassy kind of, maybe spicy, very slightly spicy hop note. It's very minute. Yeah, this is very inoffensive. And if I was looking for a Heineken non-alcoholic beer that replicates the regular beer to some degree, I would have absolutely no problems picking this up. So there's not much more to say about it. I'm impressed by the body and the mouthfeel. It's just, I can kind of tell this is non-alcoholic beer, but again, it's inoffensive. It's not gross. There's no character in here that's making me go, ugh. It's fine. And I think they did a pretty good job with it. So if I gave Heineken I gave Heineken 3.6 out of 5. As far as the beer goes overall, stylistically, probably around a 4 out of 5. I'm going to give this, here's the thing. I just reviewed this based on a non-alcoholic beer and how I'm enjoying it. So Heineken 0.0, I'm going to give this a high 3.25 out of 5 and go 3.3 out of 5. But if we're going for a straight non-alcoholic, like adjunct lager, European pale lager, whatever you want to, this just says malt beverage with natural flavor. I think they did a pretty good job. And I would probably give this like a 3.75. I think it's pretty solid. Nothing amazing, but yeah, it gets the job done, especially if you want to enjoy Heineken without any alcohol, even though that's not exactly what they're going for. They're trying to in some degree. Anyway, price point availability, price point on this, it was $9.99 a six-pack. I was able to grab a single bottle, so I'm happy. And I will say this is close to the Best By date and still drinking relatively well. Like I said, there's no big skunkiness or anything like you get like out of the green bottles from Heineken, so that's good. And availability, wherever you see Heineken, you should see this at some point, if not already. I know this has been out for a while, but I'm not just getting around to it now. So let's crack open the regular Heineken, and we are gonna do a quick comparison. I'm not gonna, again, this is not gonna be like a full side-by-side like I do with a lot of beers. We'll just give this a regular Heineken pour here. And we'll see how this one ends up being in comparison to the non-alcoholic version. I would say it's probably going to be pretty similar. Now, let's first start with how they look. Yeah, very similar. I'm not going to go into the whole appearance, but very similar. They look nearly identical. Let's get a nose on this. Little skunkiness out of the bottle, just like when I reviewed the regular one. It dissipates quite quickly. Do a little swirl here. Yeah, so there's slight differences. This definitely has more of that grassy, kind of spicy hop note. Maybe a little fuller malt component. That sulfur kind of lager note kind of hits too. Where this is just more sweet malt and not many hops, honestly. Let me cleanse my palate here just to do the full thing. All right, cheers everyone. It's very interesting. Maybe I spoke out of my ass. No, I will say this. I think the main difference between the two after those two sips is that finish. That finish has more of that, again, grassy, semi-dry, mild bitterness to it that this doesn't have. And I think that's the big difference between the two. Obviously, 5% alcohol is also the difference. Okay. Yeah, so again, that doesn't have the bite on the back of the palate. I'll be fucking honest with you, 100% honest with you. There is a difference, but it's not as big as I thought it would be. And while I prefer the regular because there's alcohol in here, if I really was craving a Heineken and somebody handed this to me, I might be able to tell a difference, but I wouldn't care too much. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't know. I think, here's the thing. If you have done this, like the actual comparison, post in the comment section, let me know what your results were. Because doing this side by side, I'm telling you, there are differences, but they're minute and very subtle when I thought there would be bigger differences. I'm just going back. I'm not going to cleanse the palate. I'm just going to go back with one sip of this and then one sip of that. Okay. Yeah, this is a little bit more flavorful, and I think the finish is what really sets it apart from this. But this is not bad for a non-alcoholic Heineken. Like this is pretty solid. I think if you don't really want it to be a little bit sweeter, then you might not enjoy this, but it's not all that different. So I'll be curious, anybody out there who has done this, and when I mean done this, I don't mean, you know, you drank Heineken 10 years ago and now you drink one of these, you're like, oh, what are you talking about? It's disgusting. No, do this. If you really want to get a true representation of how close they are, do this. Do a side-by-side. Pick up a single bottle if you can. These are really cheap, you know, a couple bucks a piece. Do a side-by-side and see for yourself, because I think that they did a good job and that I'm kind of impressed, if we're being honest. So yeah, not much more to say about it. If you've had the non-alcoholic Heineken before, the Heineken 0.0, post in the description box. Let me know what you think about it. If you did the side-by-side, let me know. I'm pretty impressed. And for everybody who said, hey, try this one out, it's pretty close to Heineken, you were right. And not that I didn't believe you, but I was kind of skeptical just because, you know, a lot of these NA beers don't really match up to like a regular beer, and I think this one did. So I appreciate everybody stopping by for another non-alcoholic beer review. The other one I want to try is the Guinness, non-alcoholic to the Guinness draft. A lot of folks have said that one does a good job of replicating Guinness, so maybe that'll be a next on the hit list. Anyway, appreciate it. To the next one. Cheers.